I just received the KFPLAN Z55 Predator. It is a 660mm wingspan plane, and this is the 3-channel version that just came out. They had a previous version, I believe it was, the model number was the Z51, which was only a 2-channel plane. So with a 2-channel plane, you had differential thrust with the dual pusher motors, but in order to ascend and descend, you had to use throttle. Typical 2-channel plane. This one is a 3-channel. It has a VTEL and it has a working elevator on it. So you have yaw, you have elevator, you have throttle. All right, it is 400 millimeters in length. Wingspan is 660 millimeter. The aircraft battery, and I have the 3-channel version. Banggood sent this to me for review. I want to thank them much for sending this plane for review, and I want to thank them for sending the 3-battery version. So it comes with 3 1S 600 milliamp hour LiPos that have the little flat white connector on it. There's a 2-battery version and a 3-battery version. Now last time I checked, the 2-battery version was only $62.99 for ready to fly plane. The only thing that's required is doesn't come with it is 3 AAA batteries that go in the transmitter. But the 2-battery version is $62.99, so it's dirt cheap, and the 3-battery version is only $64.99. So for an additional $2, I would definitely go with the 3-battery version, because it's probably going to cost you $6 or $7 to buy that battery separately. I always take advantage, whenever I'm ordering a plane, I always take advantage of the maximum number of batteries that you can purchase with it, because it's always or almost always less expensive to do that. Okay, so you get the 3 batteries or the 2 batteries, you get the charger for it, you get a screwdriver, you get plenty of screws. All the screws are exactly the same, so there's no confusion in the assembly. It takes 3 screws to hold the wing plate and the board and everything together to the fuselage. They sent me 7 screws in the pack. You get a spare set of props and a prop removal tool. You get the landing gear, you get the fuselage, you get the main wing, which is a pretty good sized wing. 660 millimeter wingspan for this plane. It's a pretty large wingspan. This is the retaining plate that goes over the top of it. All right, so you have 2 connectors on the wing for the 2 motors. One has a white connector on the end of the wires, and the other one has a red connector on the end of the wires. Okay, and inside the fuselage on the main board, let me grab the screwdriver. Over here, you'll have one socket that is colored red, one socket that is colored white. So there's no guesswork about where you need to connect these wires. And then this large white connector over here on the other side is the only connector that the servo is going to go into. Okay, so there's no guesswork about that either. All right, so the main board is not affixed to this until you put your retaining screws in. It basically holds everything together into the fuselage, including the board. And that was a good idea, because it's going to be easier taking this board out, you know, dropping the board down and then connecting the wires. So what we're going to do now is we're going to connect the wire, the servo cable to the socket. Now make sure these pins are always offset to one side, and the reason they do that is so that there's only one way to properly connect your cables into the socket, so that makes sure that the wire order is in the order that's supposed to be. Okay, you want to make sure that you got that lined up right before you push it into the socket. You don't want to bend any of these pins. So I'm just double checking here to make sure I've got mine situated right. Okay, so all right, so I've got the servo connected. Next thing we need to do is we need to put our wing over here on the top, and you want to make sure when you put your wing on the top, make sure that your servo ribbon cable here is on the other side of this little hole, because that's where this retaining clip is going to go over top of the wing, and you don't want to put a screw through it, you know, through this hole. So I'm just going to grab this here, this wing, and I'm going to just slot it in where it's supposed to go. I'm just going to hold it there until I get these connected. I'm just going to dry fit it in here like so, and then I'm going to flip it over, and that's going to give me a lot more room here to connect the motor wire. So once again, make sure that you have the sockets oriented with the pins before you push those into the socket. Okay, so I've got one in. All right, I've got almost got the other one in. Hold on. Okay, so that's done. So now that I've got all the wires connected, all 3 wires connected, the only thing I have to do now is slot it back in. You've got 3 different places where the screws are going to go. Okay, what did I do with my screwdriver? Okay, this hole in the front of the plate. There's a hole right here, right in back of the retaining clip for the battery bay hatch. There's another hole there where one screw is going to go, and one back here in the back. So I'm just going to take 3 of these screws. I'm just going to drop them in there. Drop 3 screws in there where they go. Okay, now remember, these are going into plastic, so you want to snug them up pretty good, but you don't want to over tighten them because you don't want to strip them out, right? You don't want to strip out the plastic. So I'm going to snug each one of these down, and then we'll check and make sure everything is nice and secure, nice and snug, without over torquing anything. Go back to them one more time. Make sure they're snug. Let's see here. A little more in the center, I think. All right. That feels pretty secure. Now there doesn't appear to be any reinforcement in the main wing, so you're going to get a little flexing out of the wing. That's going to be for sure. But it certainly feels like, you know, for the weight of the plane, I think those wings are going to be plenty rigid enough. Okay, so we've got that. There's an on and off switch back here, so you can go ahead and you can connect up one of your batteries and get your battery in there. And then we'll put the landing gear in and make sure everything works okay. Okay, let's see the best way to situate this. I think that looks good. Okay, now let's put our landing gear in, and it just slots in the back. Just slots into this clip back here, and then you got a couple of little plastic nubs in the front that keep it from pushing back out again. And then the nose gear, you're going to want the little spring loop facing the tail of the plane, so that the angle of the wheel is going to come back toward the tail for your nose gear. And it just slots into the plastic retainer in the front. Okay, so we have our landing gear on, we got our wing attached, we got our battery hooked up. Okay, so for the transmitter, on the right hand shoulder up here, this button on the very top is for high rate and low rate. You'll hear 1 beep for low rate, 2 beeps for high rate. The shoulder button on the left hand side doesn't do anything. That's for an optional light kit on it, and I saw where it actually had sockets on the board for the light kit, but this one did not come with the light kit. You got an on and off switch up here at the very top, a slide switch for on and off. The slide switch in the center is for if you push it to the left, you'll increase elevator, and if you push it to the right, you'll decrease elevator. And then the two small buttons, round buttons at the bottom center of the transmitter are for your yaw trim. So if you've got one motor that's running a little bit faster than the other, you can trim it up with those two buttons there. There is no right or left movement on the throttle stick. It's just throttle up and down. When you turn on the plane, turn on the transmitter, you'll bind to it like a lot of these little micro planes, pushing the throttle stick all the way up, pulling it all the way back down. You'll hear a beep, you'll see the light stop flashing on the plane, you'll know it's bound up. Alright, so on the right hand stick, you're going to have yaw control, which is going to be your aileron control. Your normal aileron control is going to be managing the yaw from the motors. You know, you got differential thrust. One motor will speed up while the other one slows down to turn the plane. And then you've got your elevator control. Alright, so let's go ahead and power up the plane. Make sure that we got everything working here. Okay, so we got the plane powered on. We'll power on the transmitter, and we'll bind up to it. Okay, so now it's bound up, and I have a solid LED light on it. Alright, so now I should have throttle, and I do. And if you look, you'll see that there's actually elevator trimmed in with the throttle. So if you see when I actuate throttle, you'll see the elevator go up slightly. And then my yaw control, one motor will speed up, one motor will slow down, and then my elevator control, and this is in low rate, so you can see it's not moving a whole lot in low rate. If I click the rate button on the top right shoulder, you hear the double beep, and now if you watch the elevator, oh, it's got much more movement on it. Alright, so everything appears to be working. The assembly is easy peasy. There's nothing to it. I don't know what the OLED weight is with the 1S battery in. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, but I will put that information in the show notes. I'll put it on the scale and see. If I had to guess, I'd say that's probably about 90 grams, but I'll have the actual number in the show notes for you guys. So it's a very inexpensive plane. It's a 3-channel version they just came out with. Comes with this handy dandy little manual that shows you step by step, you know, the assembly of the plane. There's really nothing to it. The transmitter just takes 3 AAA batteries. No fuss, no muss, guys. So this is ready to go out and maiden. So stay tuned for that. Links to the plane will be in the show notes. That's a wrap on this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Tinkerz Lab.